Yes, we did.
Never even did. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, he just came in anyway.
Yeah.
John, Orson said that they're up and running.
Oh, it says
Just let him know that we're waiting on Council Member Patrick and Zalewski Walzunas to be in person. So we'll start in about 7-8 minutes.
Okay.
And hi everybody, this is Chad. I'm in Jenica's office on her line. And it looks like the video is not sustainable with a connection, so sorry about that.
hello, Chad and Jessica.
you.
Call to order for tonight, Monday, August 16, 2021. Ms. Michael, can you please complete the roll call?
Work,
Here.
Mr.
Here.
Ms. Patrick,
Here.
Mr. Paulson,
Here. Present. Your audio is not working properly. We have one resolution for a roll call this evening. If the clerk can please read item number 1.
He's on
a
mute.
resolution authorizing the amendments of the 2020-2021 annual action plan budget and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Better Community Neighborhoods Incorporated to provide $236,000 of home funds for the Elmar Gardens project.
I need a motion to put this on the floor. Second. Any discussion? Go ahead, please.
So I'm glad we're here tonight to be able to move forward on this. And I also want to thank, I'm going to say, Chad Kilmer specifically in making sure that the community voice was included in what was being considered here, and making sure there was also an understanding of the benefit of doing this particular project, where that would not just be for this project, but to benefit a larger part of this particular neighborhood, and also going forward, how the funds that are leveraged will do other projects within the city, and specifically, my concern was the NRSA area. So I just want to say thank you to BCNI and also the chair of the board, as I said, Chad Kilmore, and for Mr. Rivera as well, and other council members, that we were able to work through this, to come to agreement, to understand the concerns that were being brought forward, and also to be able to work with those concerns so that together as a community we can move forward and to continue to move forward on projects that uplift and provide affordable housing in the city of Schenectady.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Ms. Michael, please complete the roll call.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Yes.
Ms. Packard?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Yes. The item is passed 5-0. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? We are adjourned. And we'll move into our regular city council meeting for Monday, August the 16th, and we'll go straight into health and recreation. Ms. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked Mr. Daly, Mr. Matthew Daly, to come this evening to give us an update on how the golf course has been going for the summer. And I'm really excited to have him be here with us. So I think, where should we stand?
I can put him in this bag.
Up
for you.
this way so you're on the camera. Thank you, Mr. Matt. Yes.
You have a seat there if you would like to, or you can stand. You can come closer to me.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to see all of you. I decided I think it would be a good idea to bring our course superintendent, Mike Cesney, down with us, as I'm not sure that if you haven't met him, this is an opportunity for you to meet him. I give you updates on the course often, but to be quite honest with you, Mike is really the main reason why that golf course is where it is. His countless efforts getting that course in the condition that it is in, you know, he deserves to be recognized, and he has a few things that he wanted to speak of in addition to what I have, and I thought it would be of interest to you to hear what he has to say. So moving forward, you know, the state of the golf industry is very healthy. It's incredible what the pandemic has done for the golf industry, because there was talk for a long period of time that, you know, numbers were down nationally and so forth. But I can tell you that the National Golf Foundation, which creates all statistical categories for players in golf, that's men, women, juniors, and so forth, those numbers are considerably up. So for an example, in 2020, overall play was up 2%, which is the biggest net increase in 17 years. And the mayor and I have often talked about this. That's the Tiger Woods effect. When he came into the scene, golf boomed, and then it kind of lulled. Now it came up again. People will ask, well, why did it increase? Well, last year, golf was one of the few things that you could actually do outside. Golfers practice, you know, social distancing aspects. And we were able to create a nice safe haven for golfers when they came to our facility. And it showed by the numbers that we were able to create last year. Another impressive statistical category increase was in the women's end of things. There's a 20% increase in overall women's statistics, probably the largest of all of them. When you look at juniors, juniors saw 3.1 million golfers in 2020. 30% of those were girls, as compared to 15% in the year 2000. And over 25% of the juniors that are playing are minority-based, as opposed to 6% in 2000. So big jumps in categories all across, and that's especially important because that's the future of the game. 1 out of every 3 Americans either played golf or watched the sport or read about it in 2020. That's a considerable amount. So when you look at all those numbers, it shows that the golf industry as a whole is healthy. Our revenues this year are up 13.25% up from 2020. Last year, we missed, I would say, what, Mike, a good month and a half of revenue opportunity. We were open, then we were closed, and then when we reopened, there was a lot of, you know, unknowns. Could you ride in carts? And when we finally did, you could only one rider per person, so you're losing out on revenue streams all over the place. You know, in hindsight, in 2020, from looking back in 2020, yeah, we probably could have done all those things, but at the time we didn't know that. So obviously we took all the necessary safety precautions. And so this year we're seeing our revenues even increase more than that. And last year we did almost $1.1 million in total net revenue. So we're up considerably that this year, which is going to help moving forward as we continue to meet our expense categories and our revenue streams. And of course, now that the mask mandate is in effect, after we received notice last week, we incorporated the mask rule last Monday. So now we've started. And it has been pretty well received. I mean, there's going to be the usual complaints of players, but for the most part, everybody has been in compliance, and things are working well on that end. Do you have any questions for me, I guess, is the next step, in terms of everything that I just mentioned?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, ask away.
So, how are the tournaments? Are you back on track with the tournaments?
Yes.
From pre-COVID?
Yes, we are, yeah.
Okay.
We've had, we just had our Schenectady High School football team fundraiser.
Okay.
They had their largest group ever. They had 120 players pass through, which is a very large number.
Yeah.
We have run our Schenectady Classics for the championships for both the men, the women, and the senior divisions. Those all saw big increases in numbers. And then September is going to be a big month for tournaments as well. Many of the events that were canceled last year are now back on the schedule, so tournaments are definitely high on the list.
All right, good. Thank you.
Ms. Morgan? Yes, I was wondering, are you doing tournaments with anything with children this year?
We ran a children's camp in, it was end of June, early July. We did 2 weeks. Yep. And then we actually do we host an event that's done to the Northeastern New York PGA Golf Tour. And that's kind of an annual thing that we do every year. They have a different venue that they play each week. And I can't remember the exact date. It was in July. And it was one of the regular stops. And they come every year. And that was over 100 children. Yeah. Big numbers. It was very impressive.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about the actual facilities and the course and anything that needs work or needs help?
Yep. So as I've mentioned in the past, there obviously are some capital improvements that we need to address coming soon, which is another reason why I brought Mr. Sedney with me. Some of the cart paths are going to need to be addressed. One of the issues that we face when it rains considerably, and we've gotten a lot of those rain days, is that the course gets so saturated that we aren't allowed to allow golf carts on the grounds. They can do considerable damage, so we're resorted to walking only. And when you do that, not only do you miss the cart revenue, but you do miss out on greens fee revenue as well. So it's kind of a double hit. And so we were looking forward to do more of a routine maintenance on the cart paths, but more of preventative maintenance down the road where we can have a continuous cart path around the entire golf course. And that way we can police the players better with a just cart path only. Many facilities employ that, that type of, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but they employ that practice, okay? So let's say Saratoga National, they get a rainstorm, goes through their cart path only. They have a continuous cart path that goes all the way around the course. They can still let their carts go on the facility, and players can still play the golf course. Whereas ours, they're off, we lose the revenue stream. And when that also happens, league play doesn't go out. So it's kind of a big hit when we have to reschedule. League plays miss out on their week, and then we have to reschedule them and just keep pushing them back. So yeah, it can be a nuisance, but at the same time it can be fixed. And we do have a lot of already in place paved cart path there. And I want to say it's over 9 holes that's in place now. Some of them need to be addressed, but that would be something that'd be worth the efforts to look into, saving us money down the road. And then of course the big ticket item would be a new irrigation system. It's aging, and Mike, I'll let you kind of take that direction if you'd like.
Good evening, everyone. Mike says I'm actually the president of Northeast Turf, and my company actually has the maintenance contract for the golf course, but I'm actually the acting superintendent too at the golf course. And I wrote down some notes for the irrigation system. Our present system, is that okay if I take my mask off? Our present irrigation system is between 40 and 45 years old. The average lifespan for an irrigation system is roughly 20 to 25 years old. So it's definitely it's time to replace it. It's a fully manual irrigation system that has to be turned on manually by the workers. An automatic system has electric solenoids that are activated by a low voltage current that is sent from a central computer. that's what we're trying for, is a fully automatic irrigation system. And our pump house is actually, needs to be replaced too. It's a 400 gallon per minute pump station. And our new pump station that we had designed would be between 1,000 and 1,200 gallons per minute. This would increase the capacity by 2-3 times. And the new pumps would be a variable frequency drive, which are more electrically efficient than the present pumps that we have. With our present system, manual system, it takes approximately 18 hours to water the entire golf course. The new irrigation system would accomplish this in 6 to 8 hours. With the new system, there will be improved sprinkler head coverage and more flexibility with watering in fertilizers and other products that need to be watered in. And there will also be enhanced turf quality and improved playing conditions from the new automatic system. And I guess the final part is the cost. Our last estimate we had was between 2.5 and 3 million for a new irrigation system. And 10 years ago, we had actually an estimate of 1.5 million. So I guess the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to be. And also, like, actually ended up bringing I just wanted to show everybody a Fairway Coupler that we're using in the fairways. So this coupler right here will be plugged into a valve in the fairway. There's actually 138 of these in the fairways. So we can only, the capacity, pump capacity we have now, we can only run 7 of these at a time. And
How many? I'm sorry.
I can only run 7 at a
Seven.
time. Yep, just 7. And
Seven, not 70.
no, 7. Yep.
Seven.
7, yeah.
So, and these have, there's actually, I brought this with me. These are actually in the fairways mounted in the ground. So this would open up, and you would plug that in like that, and turn it. So each day, a guy has to go out in the morning and turn this coupler on. And like I said, we let them run for half an hour. So there's 7 that can run at a time. So they'll pull those 7 out, go to the next 7. And we said there's 138 of these. So it's awful. It's labor intensive just trying to water fairways. And the new fairway head is much more efficient and has electric solenoid. So I said this would be wired to a low voltage system. And this head would automatically come on at night. And there wouldn't be any interruption during the day as far as watering the golf course. So it's much more efficient. It would have better coverage than the older style sprinkler. And the older style sprinkler was actually manufactured, implemented in the 1930s, and that was actually phased out in the late 60s, early 70s. So I don't even know of any other golf course in the area that actually uses them. But everybody has an automatic system that I know of in the area. So
you open a museum, in other words.
probably could be a museum. Yeah. So it's, I guess it's time, but I know it's a big expense to replace. But like I said, the price keeps going up every year. The cost of materials are going up. So.
So how many of those do you need? 130?
These, I think the new system is going to have between 1,000 and 1,200. 138 was just for the fairways, so we have 4 to 5 sprinklers on each green, or in each green complex and each tee complex.
Okay.
So there's probably 300 to 400 on the course now, but I said it's not the coverage is very poor now with this old system. This new system will be much more efficient. And actually had a evaluation of the irrigation system done. It was in 2010. It was actually by a certified irrigation designer. He's over in Boston. It's Brian Vincasey. And it's maybe a 15-page report, but he pretty much just spelled out all the issues with this system, and he basically said it's time for this system to.
In 2010.
2010.
2010.
It's a long time.
So,
We'll have to renew that.
yeah.
But then, the new systems will be much more evenly water distribution. And you can actually, the apps that you can get on your phone, you can actually program it right from your cell phone, which would be incredible. It's just the technology now is so much better. Yeah, I mean, things have gotten more expensive, but the technology is far superior.
Any other thoughts?
So by putting in the new irrigation system, would that help with the golf carts? Or that is something totally different?
That's a totally different, yeah, entity, yeah.
So do you have a price tag on that?
No, on the golf cart pads, no.
We estimate $500,000.
Yeah, and you know, we're not even looking to do blacktop cart pads. We could do, you know, gravel cart pads.
Okay.
Just something to have a continuous path. Yeah, the blacktop would look nice, but, you know, millings would suffice. Just a continuous path all the way around the golf course. Something that they would be forced to stay there rather than driving off. So again, you know how players are, not everybody follows the rules.
But is
So
it,
we have to police that a little bit easier, and it's easier to do that if you see somebody off the path. And with a GPS system on top of it, you can program it so the carts, when they go off the path, it notifies the player to get back on the path.
if it's not, if it's not difficult, can you just share an estimated cost?
For a new cart path?
Yeah.
Well, as Mike said, what do we think? So it's about 500,000.
500?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not sure if that's something that we could do in-house or if we would have to branch that and outsource it, but.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, I appreciate you both coming. I mean, it's obviously, I'm not a golfer, but everywhere I go, people talk about our golf course being equal to, if not better than the private country club golf courses around. And obviously, it's a great revenue stream for the city of Schenectady. So I appreciate everything that you guys do on the work that you do to keep it being such a gem for us.
Appreciate it. Yep, thank you. It's a
Thank
pleasure to
you.
work there, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Thank you for all that you do in you and your staff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Have a good night.
Me too.
That's all I have. Call for recreation tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Call for city development and planning, we have 10 items on the agenda. So the first item is a call for a public hearing, rezoning request by Stewart Shop for a parcel at 1020 McCollum Street. Ms. Dion, joining us virtually.
Good evening, everyone. This request is in regard to the rezone request for a parcel that's part of the Stewart Shops redevelopment. It's from a C2, or it's from an R1 single-family residential to C2 mixed-use commercial. The City Council referred this to the Planning Commission for recommendation, which will take place at their next meeting on August 18th. The recommendation tonight is for the City Council to call for a public hearing regarding this request to change the zoning.
Any questions? Can motion, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the adoption of a resolution accepting funding for a tree inventory and community forest management plan. Ms. Dion.
The City of Schenectady was awarded an urban forestry grant from the Department of Environmental Conservation. This is to do a citywide tree inventory and community forest management plan. So we are just asking for the acceptance of these funds and for the mayor to enter any necessary agreements to carry out the purposes of the grant.
Did you say how much the funding was?
$61,200.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions? Entertain motion. I'll move it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Ms. Tina.
You're welcome.
Third item on the agenda, award bid contract for the 2021 Schenectady Chip Skating Program. Base bid and alternative 1 to Peter Lucy and Brothers Contracting in the amount of $3,033,524.
It's fine, all the three.
Okay, Mr. Walden, do you want to join us virtually? You're muted.
A little bit difficulty hearing you guys at the table, so I'll just go forward. So this is the annual planning program, a little later than normal due to various amount of reasons. Difference this year that we try to call out in our backup is that this is for chips only. As you are probably aware from the previous program, we have 3 funding sources. We have CHIPS, we have local, we have CDBG. Due to surplus of CHIPS money, due to not having a program with COVID, we decided to do a CHIPS program. I'm working on a CDBG program, and we will not have a local program as we didn't really bond a ton of money because we had it, so we went forward with a more fiscally conservative approach. So this is the CHIPS program. This is the bigger program, roughly $3 million program, and it's going to start after Labor Day, and we are going to run it probably right through next year into June. Contractors like that because it gives them some work to go with. Some of our work we're looking to follow National Grid as part of our coordination. Otherwise, it's part of our payment plan as we continue to go. We have any questions for it?
Any questions? Ms. Lucy Wilson? So is this gonna run through the winter? Are they paving in the winter now, or is it just the money is gonna
No,
go?
we will have a shutdown. Usually we stop operations right around November 15th, and then we'll pick them back up in the spring.
Okay.
So no, we will not be paving in the winter.
Any other questions?
I'll entertain a motion.
So second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Wallen.
Thank you.
Okay, the final 7 items on the agenda are property sale, which will be done in executive session. So at this time, let's take a motion to recess.
So second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, city development planning is recessed.
Call to order the Finance Committee. The first item on the agenda is to discuss the ARPA public meetings. I'll let Ms. Porterfield go first.
Thank you. So I asked Mr. Ferrari if he would today come and explain the amount of money that we're getting, how much we've spent so far, what can and cannot be, this cannot be used for, and so,
You can have a seat, sir.
Mr. Ferrari, I'll let you.
Thank you. Council President, Ms. Porterfield, Mayor. Ms. Porterfield requested a few questions here, and we got some answers for them. Well, total amount of ARPA funds that the city is going to receive over 2 years, it amounts to $52,971,798. That we were receiving 2 rounds of $26,485,899. And of this first round, we received June 1st of 2021. Of that 26 million, $8,922,683 has been designated as loss of revenue, which I have sent to you guys previously. We're expecting our second round of 26 million and change in June of 2022. So far, the city council has allocated $233,000. $145,000 was to the Boys and Girls Club to keep its youths participating, engaged in summer programs. $38,000 to the Schenectady Fire Department. $30,000 of that 38 was for medication due to the changes in the COVID-19 protocols. And $8,000 was for the COVID cleaning of the trucks, the offices and buildings. The last amount of $50,000 was to the Schenectady Police Department, and that is for the protocol, excuse me, for the protocol for the retired police officers downstairs coming in during the day for COVID and checking. So that's all we have allocated so far. The third question is the timeline for allocating the funds. Well, the timelines for allocating funds are eligible costs from March 3rd, 2021 through December 31st, 2024. We are obligated, all our obligated funds have to be spent by 12/31/2026. And whatever's left over, we don't spend after that date, we do have to send back to the federal government. Okay, what can we spend the money on is one of the most difficult parts. One thing I could tell you, where are we here, is that what we cannot pay, things that we cannot pay for is debt service. We cannot pay for pension plans, and we cannot directly or indirectly offset a reduction in net tax revenue. So we can't lower taxes, which is, I don't know. But some of the things that we are allowed to cost for, but these are big sections where, you know, you can do things in between. Like, for instance, public health. You know, you've got, you know, you can do COVID testing, you can pay for COVID vaccinations. There's different things for public health. Also, it's negative income impacts. You know, for instance, you know, one of the things that we were discussing is to hire back all the people that we did not employ in 2019 and 2020, to hire them back, to get them back. That's part of the negative impacts. Services to the, you know, to impacted communities that are disproportionately, you know, for funding. So, you know, CDBG area neighborhoods, you know, by census tract, whatever, you know, things you can do in those neighborhoods you can spend money on. And of course, the big three infrastructures: water, sewer, broadband. But it's kind of hard right now, because with the infrastructure bill just passed by the federal government, we're you know, we don't really want to anticipate, like, we want to put our ARPA money aside for infrastructure, and then we said, oh God, we could have paid this with infrastructure bill. So, you know, that's why we're not trying to obligate anything in those areas right now. Also, you have, you know, administration, you know, because, you know, you know, it takes a lot, because, you know, starting August 31st, we have to start reporting on everything, and then on a quarterly basis through the U.S. Treasury website. You know, you have to have all your reports, quarterly reports, done every quarter starting August 31st.
Sorry, this
August 31st, yeah, it'll be our first payment. And so far, the only place that we're actually spending money is for the officers we have downstairs. So, Boys and Girls Club, we're going to be paying them soon, and in fact, I got my first call for the fire department for the cleaning supplies and stuff like that. So it's starting to work. There's a you know, a lot you can spend on, but you just have to be careful of what you're doing. We were looking at you know, with the mayor, you know, I think he's got some ideas. They're talking about getting some not a task force together, but committees together to start looking at how and what to spend the money on. And I personally think that's a great idea. I think that's the way to go. A lot of communities are starting to do that, but like ourselves, every community is cautious, and they haven't really started spending money yet, because we're all waiting for the final determination, which was supposed to end as of July 16th. So it's been a month now. We still haven't heard anything final yet. So I think that's what most of the communities are waiting for. Is there any other information that I can get for you?
So how is this showing in the budget? Is this showing as a separate line item in the budget?
In the 2022 budget? It will be, yes. Actually, we're going to show it two ways. We're going to show it as in the line item itself, that what we're using ARPA for, and then in the revenue side, we're going to have a, you know, federal ARPA number. That's one of the things too. As you recall, when we did the 2021 budget, we portioned I think 1.428 million for federal money. We weren't sure we were going to get it. We did get it. Yeah. So soon, you know, as we get closer to the end of the year, we're going to ask to appropriate that money from the ARPA into that, and plus our fund balance, which we have mentioned before. And plus, again, like I said, some of the jobs that we want to, you know, bring back, you know, that'll all be part of the function. We're just we're actually waiting for the final determination. Like we're a little surprised it hasn't come yet, but that's why we haven't. These were immediate needs, the Boys Club, the police, and fire. So that's why we brought them ahead.
Are there any questions?
Well, just a comment that I think, you know, in terms of the infrastructure bill and all of us waiting to hear what was going to happen with that I completely understand and get that was important to wait for that, and so that we don't spend out of this, but we can spend out of that. So
Correct.
Now we'll make sure that we get a whole lot of money coming to us through that.
Now, one thing that happened with the infrastructure bill that we're happy about is prior to them passing it, there was that big thought that they were gonna claw back the second payment.
Right.
But so far, they passed it and they did not mention it, so it looks like we're gonna get that second payment, which really is a big relief for all of us, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important with the 1.3 trillion infrastructure, I mean, to make sure we're not using funds for the same
Correct.
thing, so like, there's broadband in the infrastructure package, there's water, sewer, so we can make sure that we're using our ARPA money most efficiently and effectively, and, you know, if we went out and spent it right off the bat, we would, certainly not be doing very good justice with that money. The other aspect that I think we need to be careful of is the 3.5 trillion budget package and what kind of money we're gonna get there, what's gonna trickle down to the state, what's gonna trickle down to us. We have the county and the school district to work with, so we can make sure that we're being effective and not misappropriating the money. So it was very prudent that we didn't go out and spend it right off the bat.
And believe me, Mr. Wolfon was waiting.
He is waiting, yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, if I may. Mayor McCarthy, is there a timeline to put this committee together? If you may.
I was going to put one out looking after Labor Day, but after your remarks last week, I defer that, and we'll hopefully be able to negotiate something where we're all on the same page and not publicly sparring over things that are really unproductive.
Well, you know, not really public sparring, it's just that we've been getting calls from a lot of people that's what is our intention, and you know, we need to discuss
So
it.
if you give me the names of those people,
Yeah, I sure.
call, and I'll be more than happy to give them some of the background information that we're working from, some of the process in terms of evaluating what the outcomes we'd like to have the biggest impact. You know, we did a needs assessment in the community a few years ago. We've got the CDBG 5-year plan. They're fairly comprehensive, but they don't really take into account the impact of COVID and some of those things that we're still learning from. So we're getting some of the new census data in. You know, it's where do we put that money so that it's going to have the biggest impact, and to be able to do it in a coordinated fashion, so it's not just the city, but it's the school district and the county working simultaneously to leverage the resources to get long-term sustainable results you know, that wouldn't be obtained by actions by the individual levels of government.
A prime example, that would be broadband with the school and the city.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they have, you know, a big need, and we saw it with COVID, that I think people very clearly understood the need for students to learn, but then people working at home, the mothers and fathers got shifted into an environment that then they didn't expect, and so how do we build capacity there that will allow us to function whatever they call the new normal, where yes, there's still going to be some remote learning from schools that probably wasn't done before, but at the same time, how do we foster economic growth to create job opportunities for, I'll say local businesses, but that's no longer true. It's really global businesses that can hire people here that could work supporting operations anywhere around the world.
Are there any other questions? Ms. Porterfield?
So, Mayor, you mentioned the county, so is there, in terms of how we plan this out, is there plans to we report it to the county so that we're not like duplicating and people aren't, you know, asking for
Right.
the same?
I've had, I'll call more generic conversations with Lori Coleman, the county manager. We've got to set up a meeting with Chair Tony Jasinski in the near future. And also want this to be done in a manner that makes sense with our normal budget process. So do we spend some of this money in a manner that has a positive impact on costs going forward from our daily operations budget, so that some of these things, there are things that, Anthony was joking a little bit, but semi-seriously, talking about some of Paul LaFon's interest in upgrading new water wells and others. Those are major investments. We would have to pay for those one way or the other. Is it something that maybe we take a little bit of the ARPA money to offset the costs, but still do most of the work under the general revenue stream that's coming out of the water and sewer funds? So we have to look at those again to leverage those investments so that we get the biggest payback. If we can reduce our borrowing or borrow in a strategic manner, which is now interest rates are getting fairly low, how do you balance that going forward so that you prudently done the borrowing, but at the same time when we've got this money, other money that's out there, that we aggressively seek that into a package that benefits what we call the city operations, but also the county and the school district.
Are there other questions?
Well, just a comment, thank you, Mr. Ferrari, I appreciate all the work that you did on this. I've done a fair amount of reading on this, my own, but it was to have to kind of recap it exactly how I interpreted it. So I'm grateful that you took the time to do this, quite frankly, and I'm grateful that the mayor has been, slow to spend. This infrastructure bill is going to be extremely beneficial to the city, and I look forward to seeing how much dollars are filtering down to us. So, thank you.
I just want to, if you need to get more information, you go right to the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah, it's
Go
very,
right there,
very,
and
very good.
they have
A
different
lot of
things for that.
info.
It breaks it out for you, and as you can see, we've been my staff and I, we go through it every day, where we break it out, we're breaking it out by different things as much as we can. We're trying to get it so we can use it efficiently for our budget, really, that's what we're looking for, that's our goal. And you guys got the bigger ideas, you gotta do the bigger stuff.
Well, I truly appreciate it, because there is a lot of information there.
Yeah, a lot of information.
Yeah, and the key piece is it's not finalized yet, and we really need to leverage this to the best of our ability. Ms. Patrick?
Well, I think that also talking about some community meetings and, the mayor or Mr. Coleman, would like to talk about that.
Just did.
Look, I'm looking at trying to put something together right after Labor Day.
Oh, okay.
But you do things now, but you just find these scheduling conflicts, people are on vacation, things that get, and that time's gonna go by very quick. Really, 2.5 weeks out, 3 weeks out.
Sorry,
No.
I was
thank
thinking
you.
of water. The funding and water.
Next on the agenda,
Thank you.
is, acceptance of the 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Grant. I see we have Chief Senecal here.
Have a seat, or you can stand, I don't want.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi. So this grant is excellent timing for us. It's a grant to replace our thermal imaging cameras. They are a very high-tech device. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
No? Okay, so I'll talk a little louder. So it's a very high-tech device that it just does that. By temperature-wise, it gives us images in a fire building. It enables us to locate fire victims. If our room is 900 degrees and the human body's 100, it'll show us the outlay, if you will, of a burn or a fire victim for us to locate. Also, it's very safe for our firefighters to know where the seat of the fire is in a zero visibility condition. We don't want to be above the seat of the fire. We shoot it off walls. We're able to find exits. It's probably our second most important piece of equipment we have next to our turnout gear. So the grant is for $63,200. Our portion would be $5,745. Coincidentally, we've been looking to replace these for a couple of years now, and Mr. Farrar and I discussed capital budget. We actually have a capital budget plan together we had for 2020, which we put to 2021. So the timing is right, and we're very thankful for this grant because it's that important to us.
Are there any questions?
No, I'll move this.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Call to order public safety. The first item is discussion, traffic signal follow-up. Mr. Palomini.
Thank you. Where we left off was looking to see where signage might be most beneficial. Mr. Coluccio's done an incredible amount of work trying to figure this out, and he's been digging deeper, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Mr. Palomini. So yes, I've done a little work. Last time we met, we looked at the top 25 intersections, unsignalized intersections in the city, to look at the number of accident reports. So this was from January 2016 to July of this year. We don't normally look at such an extended period of time when we're evaluating intersections and the problems associated with them. We typically stick to like a 2-year history because so many things change over time. Volumes of traffic change, where people come and go, geometric changes, all kinds of changes. So keep that in mind when we're looking at it. The original list that we looked at was from the police department reporting system. What that means in comparison to what we finally ultimately looked at is some of those reports were accidents that did not occur at the intersection but were coded at that intersection. Some reports did not require a accident report at all, and some of them were duplicate calls. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is the original breakdown that we looked at before, starting at a breakdown of the individual locations by year and the type of control that is in use at those intersections. Just give you a second to take a gaze over them. At this point, we've looked at 5 of the intersections. Erie Boulevard and Seneca Street, Fair and Golf, Bedford and Eastern, and McClellan and the Plaza. In the second column, you see what the total number of accidents that were listed in the original report. By the time I went through them all, you look at the numbers all the way over on the right side, and those are actually the number of accidents that were reportable at that location, had the proper information. So you can see there's a pretty good difference between some of them. Erie and Seneca was 48, it's actually down to 32. Fear and Golf, 43 down to 30, etc. So again, you can't always look at a book by its cover, you got to dig a little deeper. This is the intersection of Erie Boulevard and Seneca Street. All the accidents occurring during that time period from July of 2016 to present, and the type of accidents that have occurred there. Again, there were 53 in the original one. We're down to 32. 6 of them are personal injury accidents denoted by the pink color. 1 auto pedestrian. The largest amount of accident types is 15. They were rear end accidents. 12 turning movement accidents, and 4 side swipe accidents. Not all terrible. If you look at the graph over time, you can see that some of those numbers have gone down. And why is that? COVID is probably one piece of that. Based on last year, the reduced amount of traffic. Again, this is an intersection maintained by the Department of State, so I'm going to take this information, these accidents, which also shows contributing factors on them, you know, what was going on before the accident, during. So I'm going to ask the Department of State, I'm sorry, the Department of Transportation to take a look at it and provide some evaluation of what we can do or what they can do to improve the situation there. Next intersection is Gulf and Fear Avenue. Again, what are we looking at? A lot of rear end accidents, right? I bet a lot of you are surprised that that's the top type. You would expect right angles, right, to be the highest, but no, they're rear ends. And the good part on this particular drawing is there's only one pink, which means there's only been one injury, personal injury. Another interesting fact, you see the 4 deer on the screen, so there's a few deer accidents at the intersection, as well as a couple of people lost control during bad weather. And again, looking at the graph over time, you can see that really, even though there's so many that we're looking at, that they are actually going down there. But there's some things that we can do at this intersection that I think can improve the situation. We'll talk about that on the end. I'm just going to go through the other two. Bedford and Eastern. Certainly been in a large number of accidents over time. Also notice the pink on this one, a lot more personal injury this location than others we've seen so far. And it is more of what you'd expect, right? The right angle accidents, people having issues seeing, or cars going too fast on the main road versus someone coming out. But more, it's what you'd expect to see over time. So again, I want to show you the graph on this because it is a little deceiving, because the amount of accidents has actually gone down since we started looking at this, and there have been some things that we've done there over time, such as installing no standing here at the corner signs that improve sight distance so that people can see out of the intersection better. But we want to continue to make those types of improvements to make sure that these numbers stay down. This one that we're going to look at today is McClellan and the Plaza. Not a huge number, but I did want to look at this. It's located at the corner at a school, so I felt it was a high enough number that I wanted to find out what was going on here. So again, a lot of rear end accidents, right? Surprising that that's the situation. 4 personal injury accidents and a couple of turning accidents as well. Same situation though, and you would totally expect some of this to go down in 20, right? And you know, over time, not a very an odd pattern, more or less. But again, there's some things that we want to look at to see if we can try to make some improvements at this intersection as well. Real quickly, I just wanted to show you, this is a chart with all of the accidents that have occurred in the city over that time period. This is signalized, intersect, everything. And basically, I'm asking you to look at it to see what the 3 top contributing factors are. Driver inattention, distraction, failure to yield right away, and following too closely. If you take those 3 and you put them on all my other graphs that I did, you will see that those are the contributing factors in all those situations. So even though we expected to see something different, this is what the numbers show at these intersections versus other intersections in the city. Okay, so what can we do here? Erie Boulevard and Seneca Street, again, it's maintained by the Department of Transportation. We're going to talk to them, see what they recommend that can be done there. Potentially other signage, maybe looking at the speed limit, that's 40 miles an hour there. That may be a potential correction for that location. Fear and Golf Road, again, improved signage. I think that if we put a stop ahead on Golf Road, you know, back toward Route 7, that may be helpful. This is an opportunity for one of the LED stop signs. It's, you know, they don't necessarily not see the sign, but there's just so many things happening when you're driving that you're not always paying attention, right? The deer accidents. I think we should put some deer signs up, so that's what we're going to do. Put some deer warning signs up. Going to look at potentially putting intersection warning signs on Fear Avenue. You know, sometimes the cars drive rather quickly on Fear Avenue, and if your sight distance is limited, these people that are at the stop sign jerk ahead, think they're clear, and then someone smashes into the back of them. So those are things that we're going to do to try to improve the situation. Replace existing street name sign with larger sign and relocate it. Again, you want to try to reduce the issues that drivers have wherever possible. So if it's someone that's trying to understand where they are, they're lost or something, they're going to take those extra seconds to take their eyes off of the car in front of them to look around them. So if we put larger signs up, prominently displayed and very conspicuous, then you know, we think that we can reduce some of the problems that are happening. As well as trim foliage. You can get it kind of hard to put all these drawings together for you guys, but if I went back to the golf and Fear, you could see the sight distance problem with the trees and limbs. That needs to be done as well at that intersection, and that's what we're going to do. Bedford and Eastern, I don't want to forget about this intersection because it has had a poor past. So one of the things that we'd like to do is remove a tree located on the southeast corner. It's on Bedford at Eastern, and the stop sign is actually on the tree. And the reason it's on the tree is because there's no place to put it that's going to be clearly visible if we don't remove the tree. So I think that needs to be done, and that's what I'm going to look for support on. Last intersection, McClellan and the Plaza. Another location that I think that could take advantage of an LED stop signs on the McClellan Street approaches. As I said before, there's so many things happening, especially around the school, that you take your eye off of the fact that you have a stop sign there, and you roll into the guy in front of you. So I think that's a really good location to try these out. And there's also some foliage from the side streets, from the plaza, especially going southbound to the right, that if we can get that trimmed by a homeowner actually, then that will improve the sight distance and improve the situation overall. So all I have for you today, I only did 5 of them, but if you can imagine, each one of those has taken me 3 to 4 hours each to do. I actually have to go through every single accident report and verify the information and graphics. So I'm going to continue to work on the rest of them, but they are going to take time. But I don't think you want to see me every week. So, you know, certainly it's something that we'd like to proceed with.
No, that was excellent. It was an incredible labor-intensive job, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your hard work and making sure that we're using data to actually put it in the right spots versus anecdotal information. So.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else have questions?
Yes, Mr. Puccio, I realize that, you know, that we were talking about the top accidents, but we are here for people that, in the communities in terms of speeding, and so how can people get signs, or how would a community go about getting signs that say, well, that say children at play, they have like little seesaw things, so, because there are some communities that it's never going to show up on your map, but I know that we get emails from people saying, you know, people are speeding through, concerned about the children. I think of California Avenue in particular, where people are coming off the highway and just like flying through. So it may not be the LED signing, but there have been questions regarding four-way stops. It's one question, and secondly, signs for children at play. So
yeah, I mean, let me separate them for a minute. So as far as the four-way stop signs, we follow guidelines from New York State and the Federal Highway Authority on the placement of signs, and there are certain guidelines we look to follow. As I said to you before, if you provide me the locations, we can certainly evaluate those intersections. It's based on volume of traffic on the main and on the side. It's based on pedestrian activity. It's based on geometric issues, accident histories. Certainly provide them to me and I can take a look at them. As far as children at play signs, give me a street that the kids don't play on and they're on every single street in the city. We would never be able to maintain an inventory of signs for children that live on streets because they live on every street in the city. I don't know how you would pick and choose as to what street to place them on and what street not to place them on. I don't have an idea of how I would even do that. So yes, you drive into other communities, they have them every place. What makes them special? Nothing. They put them on dead-end streets. Well, the people that are going down dead-end streets are the ones that live there. If they don't know that children are playing on their own street, then, But again, if you have locations that people have issues, please send them to me. I will evaluate them for other potential signage and see what we can do. But I got to have some sort of data to back up why I'm doing a certain thing. But I would be more than happy to look at whatever you send me. Okay?
Go ahead.
Just that slide that you had of the top 3 accidents, would you mind just sending us a copy of that particular,
Sure. Yeah?
like why people are getting the
Yeah.
accidents?
Yeah.
Main contributing factors?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Driver inattention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Thank you.
Down here.
Any other questions?
So, Mr. Balaban, how do we move forward from here?
I suggest we move forward with the recommendations of Mr. Coluccio for the 2 intersections that he said to put signs on. And then we proceed from there, see how it works. If we see some progress, then we might look at additional signage, but I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, absolutely in agreement with that. Okay, we'll need a motion. No, we'll need a motion on
Yeah,
this.
I'd like this.
So we're moving it to authorize them to
To purchase
purchase
LED signs.
LED signs
Intersections.
for these intersections.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
The next item is a follow-up from several weeks ago, request for New York State Legislature and the Governor to amend the New York State penal law to mandate a minimum 10-year sentence for people convicted of criminal possession of a weapon felony. The last time we discussed this, the takeaway was to invite the Schenectady Police Department, the District Attorney, and the Social Service Department to help us with some information to support this resolution.
I think you're mistaken. I think it was, we were gonna go back and do our own research, which I thought everyone was gonna do, and, come forward with, we have a letter of support from Chief Clifford, and, I think we need to do is just determine, is this something we want to support or not support? Something I'd like to move forward, and if I don't have support from the committee, I don't have support from the committee, but I think we need to, have some sort of stance here. There's so much gun violence in our city and across the region, and I'd like the New York State Legislature to take a long, hard look at it, and have some sort of discussion around it. And I think this is a good resolution to get the discussion going, to ensure that we, aren't twiddling our thumbs here and having I know they're distracted with other things right now, but at the end of the day, I still think public safety is a major concern for anyone who lives in the city. And I think that, having them take a long, hard look at this and understand that, we need to have some sort of substantial penalty for someone who is, willing to take a gun and use it to settle a dispute or use it to, possibly hurt or harm or kill an innocent bystander, and it's happening far too many times. And I'm not sure that the state legislature is really focused on it. And my recommendation is let's get the state legislature focused on it. If I don't have the support, I don't have the support. But that I would like to move forward with something if I can have the support from the committee. So.
Open for discussion.
I have to say that my understanding though is when we left the last time that there would be some, I haven't seen anything, that there would be material that to support this, because as I stated before, I think before we move forward with something that we would show that we've taken the time and effort and the due diligence to pull together data that supports the fact that why we would want to move this forward. So, and I thought that's, we could see that tonight, and I haven't seen that. And yes, I have done my personal research on it. However, my understanding again was that tonight we would have data that, in order to move this forward, what I said was that I would think that people at the state level would want to see something that we've taken the time and effort to put together something that was data driven, much like what we just saw regarding the traffic that said these are the reasons why, and this is what we put together, this is what we come up with, and here's how many crimes happen here, in our community, over the date span, all of those kind of things. And with that, coupled with that, have that discussion about moving forward. And also, within that discussion, looking for where there have been mandatory minimums, if it has been effective in people and deterring people from committing crimes. So those were the kind of things that I thought we would be had before us to review and discuss tonight.
Yeah, and agreement with that. That's what we'll take away from the last meeting, was to get information and get these agencies to provide us some information. We can follow up with this agency. I can follow up with this agency, or myself and Ms. Michael, to get some information directly from this agency, or would you like to follow up directly before I go to?
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Go ahead.
So, this is just a resolution, whether it has support or not. We have to remember our civics. So it's going to go to the state if it passes. They would go to committee, they would research it, they would do all the stuff that we're talking about here. We are not passing this law. So if there's support for out of committee, vote for it. If there's not support, then say so, and it's dead, and we move on.
I don't think anyone is saying that they're not supporting it. It's just that people are asking for more information. And the takeaway from the last meeting was to get information from these three agencies, and that did not happen. So that's why I'm repeating the ask again, that can we get information to help Ms. Porterfield with some of the information, and then we'll move forward with it.
But that's done at the state level. It's not done at this level. So this is a resolution asking for them to consider upping the mandatory minimum. So that's where it's done. If there's no support, then let's move on. Just say there's no support, and you're done.
Well, I'm gonna disagree that we just move it out of here without any backup material, without us having done anything to look at anything just to say this is what we want, this is what we'll do. It's not any way we sit any of the resolutions that we were asking the state for support on. So I would say that we would need to do that, and we need to look at has this worked other places. Those are important things to consider as we're asking the state to do this. Those are things to consider. I think we should be talking to the district attorney about this. As someone who deals with this all the time, I think it's important to get the input from people who do this kind of work on a regular basis, and for those of us who do not, just to say, this is what I think it's a good idea, without having really researched why I think it's a good idea. Or is it not a good idea, and here's why. Or is 10 too much and is 8 better? So I think those are all things that we really need to consider, not just say 10 is the number, for whatever reason 10 is the number, and I don't know the answer to that. So I don't see us, I don't see myself supporting it without something backing up that makes sense for me to understand, us to discuss, and like I said, if it's not 10, if it's 10 now, is less than 10 now, do we get to 10, do we get to 8? And again, has it been proven to be a deterrent with mandatory minimums? I think those are all items that we out and say, this is what we would like, without saying why we would like. That's where I would just prefer, I would have to have that before I could say yes or no.
And I'd suggest we hold off until people actually do the research. And then when people get the research done, we can bring it back and have a discussion. But, you know, we keep putting this on the agenda, we look ineffective. And, you know, it's on all of us to do our research and do our discussions. Don't have any problem with what you're saying, but let's either do it or don't do it and move forward.
So I think we need clarity on, you asking us, are you saying each of us should do our own research?
That was what my understanding was. I thought we were all gonna, Mr. Felony did it, I did it, Patrick did it. I can send you some stuff I pulled off, I can do that.
Well, like I said, I need to see the reasoning behind it, and the data behind it, and what you're using to support this. And then, certainly, be willing to discuss it. That would be important to me. Yes, I've done my own research, but I'm not proposing this legislation. So I would ask the person who's proposing legislation if we could have some understanding of why, what brings you to this, and why this number, and what did you feel like supports this. So that would be helpful for me.
Any other discussion? So whatever information that we have, can we share it? I know Ms. Patrick had suggested send it to Ms. Michael, and she can send it out to the entire council. Can we do the same again and send that information to Ms. Michael for distribution? All right, thank you. We'll move on to the next item. This is just a follow-up to see if there is additional information with regards to Central Park sidewalk petition. A couple of weeks ago, we had asked for an estimate from Mr. Wallen. Mr. Wallen, any updates on this sidewalk petition program?
No updates. I haven't really been around for 3 weeks. I've had a vacation and then a quarantine, so I really haven't been in the office. I apologize for that, but I did speak with Alex about it, about getting you information. John really put on a show that I'm going to have to come back with something for you guys. I apologize.
No problem. It's just a follow-up to see where you are. All right.
I'd like to get it off the agenda though, too.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any other business before public safety?
Motion to adjourn?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to repeat, conclusion of the planning and we don't executive session for property sales. So I entertain motion to go into executive session. Second. All in favor?
We'll just need to wait.
Yeah.